got? Trying to wake up
So
here.
these are a couple of the occupants in
Okay.
the hallway. So
All right.
there's not a lot of sworn statements for these guys. So we've got the nanny and we've got room 132. And
Okay.
they're going to go pretty quick because they're short and there's a lot of stuff that's blacked out, omitted. But but there, we need to go through them, right?
Right.
The fact that we have the nanny and a sworn statement by her and the person out of 132 leads me to believe that the others in the room or on that hallway probably were interviewed as well, right? I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
You would think, yeah.
So
which one are we doing first?
Well, let's do the nanny real quick.
Okay.
Because these will go by, fairly quick.
Yeah.
So the nanny was actually interviewed on the 5th of October.
Okay.
9 o'clock over the phone.
9 o'clock p.m.?
In the morning.
Okay. 9 o'clock in the morning on the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Over the phone.
Right.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to say blanked out or blacked out or whatever because
all right,
they've omitted a lot in this sworn statement. So
interesting.
So whatever her name is, we're just going to say the nanny because I think that's
right.
So the nanny was staying at the Mandalay Bay Casino room, blank, with her friend, blank. We're staying in room, blank.
Okay.
Basically, we know it's 130 and 129. Okay? I mean, the nanny, the friend, they're all there for DJ Silver. DJ Silver, DJ Silver's kid, DJ Silver's mother, they're all in room 129 and 130. So this person's a friend or a relative of DJ Silver. All right.
DJ Silver's room. He also performed Sunday night, and in his room, in the care of a family member, his 1-year-old son, Wake. You were with your wife there in the concert, enjoying it. Tell me what happened.
It's just a regular night. I walked off stage. I took my ears out. I handed the ears to my monitor guy and hugged him and said thank you, and walked off stage to get Jenna. And I sat down for like 2 seconds, and I would hear a pop. It's just my ears. I didn't know if it wasn't right yet. We hear several pops, and get down, get down, get down. Pushed us to the ground, and we ended up behind the bus, and eventually ended up on the bus, and I got a text saying, what room are you in? And I said, 32-130, my kid's there. And they said the shooter's 200 feet from you.
All right.
So we know the 2 rooms they were staying in. Remember, 129, because that number comes up all the time in this case. All right. So
it does. It does.
So it says, and this is
so let's kind of back up a little bit. Tell us where that numbers came up at.
32nd floor, 100 wing, room 129 is where Campos was supposed to check because the door was open and they got a hot SOS call. Whenever the doors aren't shut all the way after about, I think it's 50 seconds, then they get an alarm. Campos was given about 5 rooms, one of which was 129. And 129 was also the room that Campos said he was in front of when he got shot.
Right. In his sworn statement.
In his sworn statement. So therefore, we always make the joke that the nanny shot him with the BB gun.
Right.
Because in his sworn statement, he said he was in front of 129, and the only person we know in front of at 129 and 130 was the nanny.
Right.
So, or pellet.
Yes. Yeah. And a baby.
And a baby. So he either got hit by a baby with a pellet gun or a nanny with a pellet gun. Right. So that's where the 129 comes out.
Okay. All right. That's where I was just checking. I just wanted to, somebody that didn't know where 129, what was going on with that door.
All kinds of issues with 129.
Yes.
So, yeah, so that's interesting, though. So let's go back a little bit. What Campos actually said about 129 was that if you recall where Campos said he was on a lower floor, walked up the stairwell,
Right.
tried to open the door, the fire door, and it didn't open.
Right.
He thought that was strange because those doors are always open.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good security guard there.
Uh,
All right. So he said he walks back down, right, to a lower floor, through the
Right.
floor, which takes about 60 seconds. And depending on which sworn statement you want to listen to of his, he did two. He went up the stairs or up the elevators in the center core. Then he walked down the 32nd floor, 100 wing,
right.
129, down to 135, went in to the alcove to check the door that he had just found secured. He sees an L bracket on that door, and then he uses the phone on the wall inside the alcove to call his security office,
Right.
which we refer to as dispatch all the time. So it's a security office down in Mandalay Bay. They actually push him to engineering, whatever. So he hangs up, and in one of our previous videos, early on video, we have him actually sitting in the alcove at 9:59 because that was a key time as well, smoking a cigarette inside the alcove because he's just sitting there listening to drilling sound. Okay, so I mean, literally,
he's listening to drilling sounds.
Drilling sounds, or rapid drilling sounds, whatever that means.
Right.
Because drilling sounds are not rapid, but he's listening to rapid.
And he's ticked off because he's supposed to be getting off shift.
He's supposed to be getting
come
off
up
shift
here and
at
look
10
at this
o'clock. Right.
Right.
So anyway, in his sworn statement, after he makes the call to engineering about the L bracket, that they did, about, hey, I need a screwdriver because I have 2 screws loose.
Yes.
He goes through the door.
So he goes into the hallway.
He goes into the hallway, and in his sworn statement, he walks towards the center core, and when he's in front of room 129, he gets hit by a pellet gun, and then he moves further up a couple doors on his left as he's facing the center core on his left, and he hides in a cubby and away from the gunfire, where he takes his cell phone and he dials security office.
Right.
Right.
So this is his sworn statement. This is his first one, the one that we're referring to. That was taken at 2:30 in the morning, the night of the shooting. Okay, and so just that much of his sworn statement, he's used 3 forms of communication.
Right.
The dispatcher radioed him. He walks down, goes to the alcove, uses the home phone that's in the alcove. Why? I don't know. To call dispatch that just radioed him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's stuck after he got shot by the pellet gun, he uses his cell phone. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay. While he's on the cell phone, there's what he says was or the dispatcher heard rapid fire. And then the dispatcher actually said, we have an active shooter on there. The dispatcher did not confirm that with Campos.
Right.
The dispatcher just heard something and says, hey, we have an active shooter up there.
Yes.
Okay. So, and then, but, that was 2:30. And he claims in that first, I want to say it was the first one at 2:30 in the morning, that he had already been to see a surgeon and back by the time this interview happened.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's place him in the hallway. Because we know from what he said, he got shot in front of 129 He said that as he walked out of the alcove where the L bracket was, the door behind him slammed. He thinks that's what got the shooter's attention. And by the time he was in front of 129, the shooter shot through the peephole and into his calf. All right?
So, Jesus, you're the security officer, and you were called to check on a door that was, I guess when a door is left open for a certain amount of time, you're supposed to go check on it, right?
Yes, we got notifications making sure that to secure them, or if they were already been secured, just making that check on the doors.
Okay, so you were going up the fire escape to get there?
Via the stairwell. I was coming from the 31st up to the 32nd.
Right.
When I approached the door, it didn't open, and it was blocked off, so I had to reroute.
Is that a normal thing, that the door at the fire escape, or the stairwell would be blocked off?
No, they're always supposed to remain open.
Right.
And so after I would drop down and then came back through the hallway, and then I approached the room, got into the door. There was a metal bracket holding the door in place.
Right. So what we're talking about here, just so everybody's clear. Okay, so this is where the hotel room where the shooter was. This is the stairway, and this door here was blocked, and you didn't know that till you came up through the elevator and went through this door and saw that there was something blocking that door. And when you saw that, did you think, that's weird? Why would somebody put brackets on a door?
Yeah, that's just out of the ordinary.
That was the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you walk out of this, and this just slammed?
Well, when I was in between that area, I was calling security dispatch to get transferred to engineering. They didn't know anything about it, so they dispatched an engineer to go verify what that was.
That's when you got called?
Yes.
Okay.
And at that time, I heard what I assumed it was drilling sounds, and I believed that they were in the area working somehow.
So you thought the drilling, they were gunshots, but you thought it was just drilling sounds?
At first, I think it was just drilling sounds.
Right. So then at what point did you get shot? What happens here?
As that door's closing and it's so heavy, it'll slam. I'm walking down this way, and I believe that's what caught the shooter's attention. As I was walking down, I heard rapid fire.
Did she hit you? I don't know. I don't know if it's a pellet or a 22 or we have access to the room.
The room's at the end of the hallway, and apparently, from what he was saying, they put a bracket up on the stairwell door. Copy, forget about on 100, on 32. And it's you go down the hallway to the left on double doors.
The direction of shooting is probably the people, so look out for that.
First, I think it was just drilling sounds.
Right. So then at what point did you get shot? What happens here?
As that door's closing and it's so heavy, it'll slam. I'm walking down this way, and I believe that's what caught the shooter's attention. As I was walking down, I heard rapid fire.
Okay.
And then he went a couple doors down on the left, and he hit.
And at first, I took cover. I felt a burning sensation. I went to go lift my pant leg up, and I saw the blood. That's when I called it in on my radio that shots have been fired. And I was going to say that I was hit, but I got all over my cell phone just to clear that radio traffic for they can coordinate the rest of the call.
And
Right.
we know from Miguel Sanchez, the bike unit guy,
Yep.
that Campos was still hiding in the alcove in that little cubby
When they got there.
Miguel was in the hallway.
Right.
All right, so we know who's there.
Right.
And we know, based on Campos' sworn statement, what direction he was heading.
Yes.
Okay. And we know
now-
what time Miguel got up there.
Yes, we do.
And if we
Yeah,
had the
well-
communication timelines, we would know what time Campos received and made calls.
Right.
From his cell phone, the wall phone, or from his radio.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so let's
Yeah, it should be
talk
hard to
about
get.
the nanny in front of 129.
Yes.
Because remember, the baby is in 130.
Across the hall.
Right. The nanny is in 129.
Right.
And we're just
I don't
saying
know why
nanny.
you'd leave. I don't know why you would leave a baby by itself. First of all,
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But
we're not going to go down that.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But we don't know if it's a nanny or not. We're just saying it's a nanny. It could be anything, right?
Right.
We just call
Right.
it a nanny, kind of like we call the engineering supervisor Patton, right? Okay. Just easy to remember these people.
Right.
All right. So this nanny is in room 129.
Okay.
I mean, it's critical. This is a critical.
This is a
statement.
critical room. Yes.
So the nanny gets up into her room around 8 p.m.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, this is her statement.
Okay. So does it say that? Yes, I was in my room at 8.
It says blank got up into her room around 8 p.m. Around 8 to 8:30, blank both left to go to the Route 91 festival. So,
Okay.
so yeah, you're right. I don't know if the nanny got up to her room, but somebody got up to her room at 8 p.m., right?
Okay.
Blank got up into her room around 8 p.m. And then around 8 to 8:30 p.m., blank, and it says both left to go to the Route 91 festival. Well, we know that at least DJ Silver was performing at this festival. DJ Silver's wife and mother actually went to the festival.
Okay.
All right. So we're assuming that the both, meaning the mother
Right.
and
Right.
his wife. Okay. The next statement. Blank in the room to watch the baby. The baby was sleeping in room. We know it's 130. So let's just put it in there.
Right.
And blank was in room blank, which we know is 129.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, the way this statement is written, it's in third person, right? So it's an FBI
That's weird.
interview. The FBI individual is writing it down, evidently, and he's talking to the person over the phone. So when she says he's
Okay.
putting the name in there, right? So it's not
Right.
a handwritten personal statement like I did this and I did that.
Right. Right.
The FBI or whomever did this interview called her on the phone, and when they typed it out, basically put her name in there.
I see.
Okay, as past tense. All right. So the nanny was in room, and we know it's 129.
Yeah.
Had a baby monitor in her room with
Okay.
audio and video feeds to watch the baby, as they would normally do that. They would normally have the baby in another room. That's what normally happens, right? Baby's in another room. You have the video monitor, all that stuff. So she's monitoring. It's right across the hallway, right? So she's got
Sure.
the video, the audio to watch the baby. All right. Shortly after 10 p.m., she, meaning the nanny, heard what sounded like automatic machine gun fire coming from a close distance. She also started smelling gunfire, which is interesting because she's the first one who's ever mentioned smelling gunfire.
Yeah, that's very first person. Yeah.
Her door is closed right now, by the way. Okay? This is.
Did she close it or did Campos close
No.
it?
She talks about it later on. It's foreshadowing, man. I'm making this suspenseful for you. Suspenseful for you.
All right. Yes, go ahead. You're keeping me under suspense here.
She
Campos.
smells
I'm sitting
gunfire.
down for you.
No one has ever said they smelled gunfire.
Right.
Okay, next statement. They bulletize all these statements. She, the nanny, called the hotel operator to tell them what she heard and asked if anything was going on. The operator told her nothing was going on. Now, timestamp that. Right? Timestamp. We know. It's got to be monitored. We know exactly. It's a phone, for God's sake. Every phone has a timestamp. So, so we need to know when she actually called the hotel operator.
Yeah, that should be.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's remember, she hears the automatic fire. She didn't say rifle.
Right.
She said auto fire. Now, there are two types of guns in that room of Paddocks, auto and rifles, and a pistol. We've heard automatic fire. We've heard people say rifles. We haven't heard anybody say pistols, but we've heard them say rifles and we've heard them say automatic. She says automatic. The operator, remember, who's taking the call from Campos, says automatic. Campos says automatic. When we get to Shuck, he doesn't say automatic. All right. So anyway, back to the nanny.
Interesting. Okay.
She calls the hotel operator right after she smells the gunfire and she hears the shots. It's shortly after 10 o'clock. She hears the automatic gunfire. She hears the automatic fire. She smells gunfire. She calls the operator, reports it. Operator says nothing's going on. She then opens her door to look out of her room, saw a security officer walking by her room. The security officer said everything was fine and she could go back into her room.
There was a female that came out, and I told her to go back inside. It wasn't safe.
Mm-hmm.
There was a female that came out, and I told her to go back inside. It wasn't safe.
Mm-hmm.
The security officer said everything was fine and she could go back into her room. All right. Next statement. Man, I'm going to have to tell her to call me at another time. I'm in the doghouse, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh! Woof!
Damn.
I know. All right. She should know better than to call me during a podcast. Come on. Come on, man.
I know it. This is.
She keeps telling me she can read my mind. Like, don't call me during a podcast.
That's right.
We're in the middle of the nanny shooting Campos with a BB gun.
I know. We got to get it.
All right. So anyway, let me get back to business. So take a step back.
Yes.
She hears automatic fire. She smells gunfire. She calls the operator of the hotel. Operator says nothing's going on. She opens her door to the hallway, sees a security officer, we have to assume it's Campos, walking by her room. We don't know which direction he was walking. No questions.
Right. Now, listen. Okay, so.
No. They don't clarify as to which direction he is walking past her room.
Well, I'm thinking that that coincides with him hearing drilling noises, because he heard drilling noises while he was in the room. After drilling noises, and he walks down the hallway, which that's while at the same time she's hearing automatic fire, and coincidentally opens the door at the same time he walks by.
Okay. That sounds good.
To me, that's right there in line with it.
Because he's thinking it was just drilling.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's move on. I like your way of thinking.
Yes.
So she sees a security officer. I gotta figure it out. I'm reading this right here. It takes me a little while to find my place again. She sees a security.
You look like you're lost in the lens or something. Okay.
I am, man.
You're looking at me like you want to be a girlfriend of mine or something. You're not there yet.
I'm gonna have to have you read this as you're driving. Maybe that'll be a little more fun for all of us. So he says, I saw the security officer walking by my room. The security officer said everything was fine and that she should go back to her room.
And he didn't mention that at all.
You know, the woman, he had mentioned a woman somewhere along the line. I don't know where. It wasn't in his sworn statements.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I had just heard it. Somebody out there probably can tell us where he said that. But I had heard the news saying it, but I had never seen him say it.
Right.
Okay.
I don't think he said it on either one of the statements.
He left out a lot of details.
Yeah.
There was a female that came out, and I told her to go back inside. It wasn't safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so she could go back to her room. She, at that point, receives a text from blank, or probably, DJ Silver,
right?
Family member, stating they were being shot at the festival. She told blank the baby and her were safe. Blank told her the shooting might be coming from Mandalay Bay and to get the baby out of the room. So this jives with what DJ Silver's interview states.
Okay.
He states basically they were hearing shots were coming to the festival. They were taken to another part of the street or whatever, and then they texted and they were texting her, okay, about the baby.
DJ Silver's room, he also performed Sunday night, and in his room, in the care of a family member, his 1-year-old son, Wake. You were with your wife there in the concert, enjoying it. Tell me what happened.
It's just a regular night. I walked off stage. I took my ears out. I handed the ears to my monitor guy and hugged him and said thank you, and walked off stage to get Jenna. And I sat down for like 2 seconds, and I would hear a pop. It's just my ears. I didn't know if it wasn't right yet. We hear several pops, and get down. Pushed us to the ground, and we ended up behind the bus, and eventually ended up on the bus. And I got a text saying, "What room are you in?" And I said, 32-130. My kid's there, and they said the shooter's 200 feet from you.
Pinned down as bullets hailed from the Mandalay Bay, DJ Silver and his wife Jenna couldn't get to their 13-month-old son Wake, who was with a family member just 3 doors down from the shooter.
I can't say this to my wife because she's crying and shaking, and that was almost 5 minutes into it, and it was terrible. I just couldn't get to the kid. I honestly couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just like shut off.
But DJ and Jenna managed to escape to a safe zone where they suffered hours waiting to reunite with their son.
We don't have phones. Her phone's dead. And he gave it to her phone number to a friend, and she said, finally got a text, said we were at Town Square. And this was about 2.5, 3 hours later. And coming to find out,
they had taken your son out of the room and taken him to Town Square.
I guess I think a SWAT came in, kicked in the door, and at the same time they rushed the rooms and took the kid and ran out with him to the elevator. And I thought the safest place in the world was that kid sitting in that hotel room, and come find out he's that close. And longest 2.5 hours of my life. And then we finally found him in Town Square, sitting on the side of the road, picked him up, and I just hugged him until like 6 o'clock in the morning.
What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, when they're young, they don't really they hug you every once in a while. When literally he got in the car and put his hands around my face and just hugged me for like he knew I was messed up a little bit. But we got him on a plane last night to Nashville, and I'm sitting here waiting to get all our stuff so I can go home.
I'm wondering the meaning behind your son's name.
Jen always had this kind of name. She never told me, and you know, she said, "What do you think of Wake?" And I thought that was so great. And I was in South Beach, and there was a surfboard stuck up in the sand. It said "Wake up and live," and I was like, "That name's perfect."
Especially perhaps given now circumstances more than ever.
I just know there's a bigger plan for that kid, and thank the Lord and the police officers and everyone that took care of it.
So that's good. The nanny propped her door open with the deadbolt.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. And exited her room. So it's interesting, dude. I mean, look, she calls the operator. Timestamp. Where is the time? She hangs up. We know the door locks, the lock interrogation doesn't go down to the second, but at least could tell us the minute.
Right.
As she opens the door from the inside and sees Campos.
Right.
Asks him what's going on. He said nothing. Go back into your room.
Right.
Stop shooting at me with the BB gun. You know, that kind of thing. He hasn't
Yeah.
gotten shot yet, obviously.
Obviously.
She goes back into her room. She receives a text from her family members. Right? Timestamp. What time did that text come in? Because whatever time that text came in was after she saw Campos.
Right.
But before this next action. What's the next action?
What is it?
The nanny props her door open with the deadbolt, which we would have that lock interrogation.
Right.
Because we've already seen that with 134 and 135. Every time you hit the deadbolt, it clocks it. Every time you touch the handle, it clocks it, right?
Right.
So lock interrogation would tell us at what point she threw the deadbolt. So
Yeah.
the nanny propped her door open with the deadbolt and exited her room. Exited her room, dude. She walked to room, which is 130. We can always fill that in because that's where the baby's at. To get the baby out of the room. Okay?
Yeah.
The nanny attempted to open the door with the key. That would also be on the lock interrogation report, right?
This is at the same time that he's supposedly getting shot.
Yes. According to his sworn statement.
What we're talking about here, just so everybody's clear. Okay, so this is where the hotel room where the shooter was. This is the stairway, and this door here was blocked, and you didn't know that till you came up through the elevator and went through this door and saw that there was something blocking that door. And when you saw that, did you think that's weird? Why would somebody put brackets on a door?
Yeah, that's just out of the ordinary.
That was the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you walk out of this, and this just slammed?
Well, when I was in between that area, I was calling security dispatch to get transferred to engineering. They didn't know anything about it, so they dispatched an engineer to go verify what that was.
That's when you got called?
Yes.
Okay.
And at that time, I heard what I assumed it was drilling sounds, and I believed that they were in the area working somehow.
So you thought the drilling, they were gunshots, but you thought it was just drilling sounds?
At first, I think it was just drilling sounds.
Right. So then at what point did you get shot? What happens here?
As that door is closing and it's so heavy, it'll slam. I'm walking down this way, and I believe that's what caught the shooter's attention. As I was walking down, I heard rapid fire, and at first I took cover. I felt a burning sensation. I went to go lift my pant leg up, and I saw the blood. That's when I called it in on my radio that shots have been fired. And I was going to say that I was hit, but I got all over my cell phone just to clear that radio traffic for they can coordinate the rest of the call.
Right.
So we need the lock interrogation, the lock data from when she threw the lock to keep her door open. She walks across the hallway. She says she attempted to open the door with her key, which means we've already seen she would have gotten an error or it would have been accepted.
Right.
But it would have been time-stamped.
Correct.
Right? So the nanny attempted to open the door with the key, but the key did not work.
That would be time-stamped.
The nanny could not get into the room. The nanny went back into her room. All right?
Okay.
She continued to hear rapid fire.
All right.
Then later, all right, we're talking obviously an hour and a half later, basically. She says, it says, the nanny later heard a loud explosion. Shortly after explosion, officers kicked in her door and rescued her. So we know it took the officers about an hour and a half to do that.
So she never got the baby?
Never got the baby until they cleared the rooms. Remember that? Because they went in and they saw, yeah, because the rooms automatically locked, evidently. But, or somebody automatically locked the rooms, right? So.
Three to five. One, two, three, right there. I'll hold door. You got it? Police department. I'm gonna go police. Police. Let me get hands. I'm coming up. Lock that door. Get rid of what's doing. Hey, we got a child, no parents in here. Where's the baby? That's okay. That's okay. He's right there. Go get the baby. All right. Okay. Hey, here comes someone. Come on, go. Run. Let's go. Go. This way. Go. The baby that way. Go. We got two closed doors.
She had to be scared to death.
Oh, yeah. So remember when they were clearing the room at 1:30, she ran into the room when they saw there was a baby there, and then they escorted both of them out.
Right.
Right. All right. Wow. So basically her statement ends where it says she went back into the room and continued to hear rapid fire. Right? That's where her statement ends. The next line of her statement says the nanny later heard a loud explosion, which is the breach to 135.
Right.
All right. So shortly after the explosion, the officers entered a room. Nannies let the officer know there was a baby in room 130, and that's actually written here. Yep.
So they didn't ask. I mean, there's a gap there, man.
Huge gap. Yep.
There's a big gap in her statement.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe that you would you wouldn't record that statement. Okay, first of all, I can't believe that you would take and call this lady on the phone and not have that be a recorded, transcribed interview.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
No, I think I'm not sure why they wouldn't do it.
And then the gap of this, because I would guarantee you that this lady went back and forth trying to figure out where the keys are and trying to do something to try to get into that door. I mean, they've got to. I mean, she had to be going crazy.
I would like to know which direction was Campos walking when she saw him in the hallway. Right? The first time.
Right.
And
I mean, because we don't know. Yeah.
And when she was walking across the hallway and couldn't get into the door, did she see him in the hallway?
Yeah.
Did she see?
He didn't ask that question.
Did she see Shuck in the hallway? You know, maybe the
They didn't
bike
ask
guy
her.
with the neon yellow, shirt. All right, so
There's a whole time frame there that's missing.
So the last couple sentences in this basically say, when they opened the door, she told them they had a baby in 1:30. So they opened the door. She retrieved the baby, who was still sleeping. The officer handed the baby to the nanny. The nanny was escorted down the hallway by the officers to the elevators. The nanny never saw anything in the hall or near the suspect's room, never saw any suspicious persons, never heard or saw anything unusual prior to the shooting. It was learned a security officer was responding to her room before the shooting, referenced the room door being left open. The nanny did not intentionally leave her door cracked open, and she was not aware the door was not closed.
Huh. It's pretty good, but it's still missing a bunch of stuff, man.
Well, to me, if he was checking 129 because the door was left open, when did he would have actively checked it or talked to her, not her coming out of the room to talk to him?
Well, if she came out of the room to and just ran into, he's going to that room.
That's his purpose.
That's the purpose. He didn't say, hey, he should have, this is great timing. I was checking your room.
Right.
There was no statement saying that.
No.
He was walking by it. He wasn't even there to check that room.
Right. He was walking by it. She's like, the security officer was walking by the room. If he was checking on the room, he would have knocked on the room, checked on the room, pulled the door closed, something to that effect.
I don't think his statement even said that she even opened the door when he walked by. He didn't mention her at all, did he?
No, he didn't mention her at all.
I don't think
no.
On either one of the statements.
Either one. So she was interviewed at 9 in the morning, 5 days later.
Right.
So, doesn't say how long that interview took, but it doesn't seem like it took very long because obviously they didn't ask many questions. So
that interview, it had to be less than the other two that we just did.
Yeah. So this
those were only 6 minutes.
It was interviewed.
Were only 6 minutes.
Yeah, she was interviewed by a detective. So we don't know who detective. It blacked out the name.
It sounds like Hodson.
Probably our friend Hodson.
It sounds like his way of interviewing people. Let's not ask the right questions. Let's just kind of, there's a lot of gaps, but hey, I'm retiring in about a week, I mean, seriously, it's I don't know if he's retiring or not. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.